In a world hardwired for urgency, relaxation almost seems rebellious. We've been conditioned to believe that striving equals success, that hustle guarantees abundance, and that tension somehow proves our worth. But the laws of the quantum field don't respond to effort. They respond to energy. Specifically, the coherence of energy. And coherence, the beautiful harmony between the heart and the brain, cannot be reached through force. It is only accessed through a relaxed state of being. When you relax, something remarkable happens. Your body exits the familiar cascade of stress chemicals, adrenaline, cortisol, norepinephrine, and begins to shift into homeostasis. This shift is more than just a physiological change. It's a signal to your cells that the environment is safe, that there is no threat, that it's time to move from survival. You can only repeat. Most people live in a low-grade fight-or-flight response, constantly scanning their environment for the next threat, consciously or unconsciously. The nervous system is addicted to stress. Their attention is anchored in the known, in matter, in what's wrong or missing. They think if they just do more, try harder, push longer, they will break through. But that energy is misaligned with the frequency of abundance. That energy is rooted in lack. Abundance does not respond to urgency. It responds to resonance. And resonance requires relaxation. The more you relax, the more coherent your internal state becomes. Your heart rate slows, your brain waves shift into alpha or even theta. You move beyond analytical thinking and into the realm of the subconscious. This is the door to the mystical. This is where the veil begins to thin. This is where your energy starts to connect with the field. The quantum field doesn't speak English or Spanish or any human language. It speaks frequency. It reads your state of being like an energetic blueprint. And the signal you're broadcasting is not based on what you want. It's based on who you are being. In a stress state, even if you say you want abundance, you are actually broadcasting a frequency of lack, fear, and control. And the field only echoes what you send out. Relaxation, on the other hand, communicates trust. It is the energetic signature that says, I already have everything I need. I'm no longer trying to survive. I'm ready to receive. When you relax, you let go of the illusion that you must do in order to have. You step into a more powerful truth. You must be in order to receive. This is not passive. It is deeply active, but in a different way. It is about aligning, attuning, and allowing. Relaxation is the art of stepping out of the timeline of cause and effect and stepping into the realm where cause and effect collapse. Where the feeling comes first, the reality must follow. In a relaxed state, your awareness expands. You're no longer trapped in linear thinking or addicted to your senses. You become more sensitive to the subtle. A flicker of intuition, a flash of inspiration, a quiet knowing. These are the breadcrumbs the field leaves when you're aligned. And when you're tense, you miss them. This is why true receiving can only happen in a relaxed nervous system, because receiving requires openness. Openness is not a mental concept. It's a physiological and energetic reality. When your body is open, your energy is expanded, your heart is coherent, and your brain is in harmony, you become a magnet. Not for what you chase, but for what you are a vibrational match to. It's not about stopping your ambition or silencing your vision. It's about releasing the friction around it. Because the more you push, the more you signal that what you desire is far away. But the more you relax, the more you dissolve that distance. You begin to embody the reality you once longed for. And embodiment is the secret, because you do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. Relaxation is also surrender, not as in giving up, but as in giving over, handing your desires to a field of intelligence far more vast than your ego. When you relax, you say to the universe, I trust your timing more than my fear. I trust your orchestration more than my control. You stop micromanaging reality and start participating in its unfolding. You stop gripping outcomes and start inviting synchronicity. In this relaxed, coherent state, even time behaves differently. You are no longer running on the clock of the 3D world. You're tapping into the timeless dimension of energy where creation happens instantaneously, because you're no longer separate from what you seek. You've collapsed the gap. Your job is no longer to figure out how. Your job is to maintain the state, to nurture the inner condition where receiving becomes natural, effortless, inevitable. To tune your internal radio to the frequency where abundance is already playing. And just like a radio signal, you don't need to create it, you only need to match it. That's impossible. Trust is not something you understand with the intellect. It's not a concept you study or a belief you repeat in your mind until it feels real. Trust is an energy, a frequency, a state of being that speaks louder than any affirmation ever could. And the moment you truly embody trust, your energy shifts, your vibration changes, your signal to the quantum field becomes unmistakably coherent. Oh, most people think of trust as a mental agreement, something they nod to when things go their way, something they try to remember when challenges appear. But real trust begins when there's no evidence, no proof, no sign that what you want is on its way. That's where the frequency begins. That's where you step into the unknown. And the unknown is uncomfortable, isn't it? Because in the unknown, the mind has no reference point. It can't predict, it can't control, it has no roadmap. And this is exactly why it resists. The thinking mind wants certainty, familiarity, proof, but the field does not operate on logic. It operates on energy. So if you want to communicate with the field, you can't rely on old patterns of thought. You have to step into the mystery. You have to live from the energy of trust, not the thought of it. And you begin to live from trust. You're no longer aligning your energy with what is. You're aligning it with what could be. That's the leap. That's the surrender. You're no longer defining your reality by your senses. You're defining it by the internal state you choose to embody. And when that internal state is trust, your biology reflects it. Your heart opens. Your nervous system calms. Your field expands. Your body becomes the mirror of the new future. But let's be clear. Trust is not passive. It is not resignation. It is not waiting. It is a deeply creative act. To trust is to claim your power. It is to stand still in the unknown and radiate a signal of certainty that says, I don't need to see it to know it's coming. I don't need the outcome to validate my belief. I've already chosen the state. And the state is more real to me than the lack of results. The person who masters this frequency becomes magnetic, not because they figured out how to manipulate the field, but because they've learned how to harmonize with it. Their inner world becomes more real than their outer one. They are no longer reacting to life, they are broadcasting a new reality into the field. And the field must respond. This is where trust transcends the mind. Because when you try to think your way into trust, you are still trying to control. You are still in the domain of the known. And the known can only ever reproduce the past. But when you feel your way into trust, when you anchor it into the body, when your heart begins to beat in rhythm with that frequency, you're no longer separate from the outcome. You are it. This is the essence of quantum creation. To tune into the energy of what you desire before it materializes. To become so familiar with the feeling of that future that it starts to rewire your brain, that it starts to regulate your body, that it starts to feel more normal, more natural, more you than the doubts, the fears, and the limiting stories of your past. You begin to teach your body emotionally what that future feels like, and the body, as the unconscious mind, doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined. So it begins to live in that future. It begins to fire signals, release chemicals, create patterns that match the vision. And in that space, your energy becomes elevated, clear, coherent. And that coherence is the language of trust. When you maintain that frequency over time, you're no longer chasing outcomes. You're aligning with inevitabilities. You don't need to figure out how things will happen. You don't need to force timing. You simply stay tuned. Like a radio set to a specific station, your job is to hold the frequency long enough for reality to catch up. And yes, the test will come. Life will present opportunities to fall back into fear, control, and doubt. But these are not setbacks, they are invitations. They are thresholds between the old self and the new. And each time you choose trust over fear, you collapse another layer of resistance. You peel back another veil between you and the infinite potential waiting in the field. Trust isn't something you remember once. It's a state you return to over and over until it becomes your baseline, until you no longer try to trust. You simply live there. And when that happens, your body relaxes, your heart opens, your energy becomes a beacon, and everything in your life begins to shift to match that internal signal. Abundance is not something you create from nothing. It is not something far off in the future that you must struggle toward, nor is it a reward given for hard work or relentless effort. Abundance is not outside of you, waiting to be earned. It is already here, already existing in the invisible, non-physical realm of pure potential. The quantum field. The only reason it may feel absent is because your energy has not yet aligned with it. You are surrounded by invisible fields of intelligence and energy at all times. In this unified field, all possible realities exist. all timelines, all versions of you. The version that is abundant is already living and breathing in that field, vibrating at a different frequency than the you who doubts, fears, or waits. The key is not to go and find it, but to tune to it. Just as a radio doesn't create the song it plays, but merely accesses it by matching the correct frequency, you do not need to create abundance. You simply need to match the frequency where it's already playing. The field doesn't respond to your wants or your needs. It responds to the signal you broadcast. That signal is made up of your thoughts, your feelings, and your state of being. When those elements are incoherent, scattered, or rooted in lack, the field mirrors confusion or delay. But when your inner world is coherent, when your thoughts, emotions, and actions are aligned, you become a vibrational match to the timeline where abundance is already real. The greatest illusion is that abundance is something to chase. When you chase, you affirm that it is far away. When you desire without alignment, you emit a signal of longing. That longing, though sincere, becomes a statement of separation. But when you begin to feel, truly feel, as if you are already abundant, the field has no choice but to respond to your elevated emotion. It does not delay. It begins to reorganize circumstances, people, opportunities, and synchronicities to match. This is not magical thinking. It is energetic law. All matter is energy condensed into form. All form begins as formless. When you align with the formless energy of abundance, you become a participant in the creative process, not from force, but from coherence. The electromagnetic field of the heart expands. The brainwaves shift from beta into alpha and theta, where imagination, receptivity, and deep internal connection become accessible. It is here, in these states, that you begin to collapse the wave of infinite possibility into a particle of experience. In elevated states of consciousness, you no longer ask for abundance. You become it. You carry the energy of completeness. You walk differently, you breathe differently, you stop looking around for signs and instead become the sign. The field is always scanning for coherence. When it feels the signal of true embodiment, it moves with intelligence beyond human comprehension to reflect that signal back to you. So the question is never, how do I find abundance? The real question is, can I become so inwardly abundant, so deeply tuned to the feeling of it, that my outer world has no choice but to reflect it? That is where your power lives. Not in forcing outcomes, but in mastering the art of frequency. The future is not built from the material up. It is summoned from the energetic down. If all realities already exist, then the one in which you are free, resourced, fulfilled, and overflowing is not something you have to invent. It is something you have to access. And you access it not through hustle, but through harmony. You must become the person who would naturally experience that level of abundance. That version of you already knows how it feels to be in flow, to receive without resistance, to give without depletion. You're not creating something new. You're remembering something ancient, something encoded into your being. The process of tuning into that frequency begins with awareness. You must become aware of the programs and emotions that keep you connected to lack, the patterns that keep you waiting, doubting, or striving, Once you observe them without judgment, you can begin to change your energy. You choose elevated thoughts. You practice elevated emotions. You sit with the energy of gratitude, of appreciation, of joy. Not because something amazing happened, but because you are becoming the kind of person who feels those things as a baseline, not a reaction. The moment you shift into that state, you begin to draw the future toward you. Time compresses, space bends, synchronicity increases, because you are no longer separate from the version of you who is already living in abundance. You are embodying them. You are broadcasting their frequency. You have entered the vibrational doorway where abundance already exists, and the field can finally recognize you as a match. It can finally begin reflecting to you what has always been there, waiting for your alignment, waiting for your readiness, waiting for your remembering. Letting go is not about giving up. It is not about detaching from your vision or your desire. It is not apathy. Letting go is the most powerful act of creation because it signals to the field that you trust something greater than your limited self to orchestrate the outcome. In truth, the space between your desire and its manifestation is not filled by effort, it's filled by surrender. When you hold on too tightly, when you obsess, when you try to force something into existence, you create resistance in the field. That resistance is subtle but powerful. It's a signal that says, I don't believe this can happen unless I control it. It's a signal that says, this outcome is not natural to me. I must manufacture it. But energy doesn't respond to control. It responds to coherence. And coherence arises not from gripping, but from allowing. Letting go does not mean detaching from the vision. It means detaching from the fear that it won't happen. It means releasing the mental narratives that tie your identity to a specific outcome in a specific way at a specific time. The ego wants to control timing. It wants to decide how the abundance should arrive, through whom, by what means, and under what conditions. But the field is infinite in its intelligence. Its creativity is beyond comprehension. It does not need your interference. It needs your alignment. In the act of letting go, you become a collaborator with that field. You say, I have done my part. I have imagined, I have felt, I have embodied, and now I release the outcome to a greater intelligence that can organize realities I cannot yet perceive, that release open space within you, space that was once filled with tension, doubt, and obsession, and into that space flows energy, clarity, guidance, synchronicity. The paradox of the quantum world is this. The moment you stop needing something, you become available to receive it. Why? Because the signal of need is a signal of lack. It says to the field, this is separate from me. I am incomplete without it. But the moment you let go of that story, when you truly let it go, not just in thought but in being, you become whole. And it is from wholeness that all things are magnetized. When you let go, your body relaxes, your heart opens, your nervous system shifts from sympathetic to parasympathetic. You begin to exit the beta brainwave state of survival and enter the alpha and theta states of receptivity. These are the states where the subconscious can be reprogrammed. These are the frequencies where creation begins. And these states are only accessed when you are no longer forcing, no longer needing, no longer chasing. And letting go is an energetic unclenching. It's as if the grip around your desire loosens, and in that loosening, the energy can finally flow. You're not cutting yourself off from the dream, you're stepping out of its way. Because your job was never to micromanage the universe. Your job was to become the version of yourself who is already living in that reality. And that version of you isn't controlling. That version is trusting. That version is free. Freedom comes when you no longer use your outer world as a mirror for your inner worth. When you stop needing the physical manifestation to validate your internal state, you are liberated. And ironically, that liberation is what draws the manifestation to you. You are no longer waiting to feel worthy, you already feel worthy. You are no longer waiting to feel abundant, you already are. And in that moment of being, you have let go. To let go is to enter the now fully, to release the timeline, the pressure, the attachments that bind your energy to the past or the future. The present moment is where creation lives. It is where you step into the unknown, into the quantum, into possibility. And from that presence, your signal becomes amplified because you are no longer split between desire and doubt. You are one. Letting go is also a declaration. I am enough as I am. I do not need this thing to complete me. I already am whole. And wholeness is the magnet of miracles. When you declare your enoughness, not with words, but with your state, you align with the frequency of the field where everything already exists. You step out of separation and into oneness. Letting go is an act of love. It is the release of fear. It is the surrender of control. It is the trust fall into the arms of an intelligence that has already woven your desire into a timeline beyond your imagination. But that timeline requires a new version of you, a version that is unattached, unbound, and fully aligned. Not because you gave up, but because you remembered that receiving doesn't happen when you grasp. It happens when you open. And opening is only possible when you have finally let go. You are not waiting for your dream life to show up. You are attracting it through the energy you become. The electromagnetic field you emit is not based on what you think about once or twice a day. It's not shaped by the words you say without conviction. It's shaped by the emotional signature you carry consistently. That emotional frequency becomes your broadcast to the quantum field, and the field always responds in kind. The great secret is this. Reality is not created through effort alone. It's created through vibration, through frequency, through the combination of thought and feeling that you practice until it becomes familiar, until it becomes your new baseline. The moment you feel internally as if the life you desire is already yours, you begin to collapse the distance between the imagined and the experience. You are no longer hoping, wishing, or waiting. You are resonating. Your body is the instrument, your mind is the tuner, your heart is the amplifier. And when all three are in harmony, when you think in alignment with your vision, feel in alignment with your future, and act in alignment with your knowing, you become magnetic. Not metaphorically, literally. The electromagnetic field around your body begins to shift. Your signal becomes stronger, clearer, more coherent. And coherence is the key to manifestation. But here's what most people miss. You cannot feel your way into the future while holding on to the past. You cannot magnetize your desires from a state of lack, fear, or unworthiness. That energy repels the very things you say you want. The field is not judging you, but it is reflecting you. It gives you not what you say, but what you are. So the most important work is internal. It's energetic. It's emotional. You must become the version of yourself who already has the life you want, not by pretending, but by embodying. So ask yourself, how would it feel to be free, to be abundant, to be loved, supported, and aligned with your purpose? Not conceptually, but viscerally. Let the feeling rise. Let it fill your body. Let it override the old programs of scarcity, struggle, and separation. Your nervous system may resist at first. Your old identity may cling to familiar patterns. But the more you rehearse the new feeling, the more natural it becomes. And soon, it is no longer practice. It is who you are. When you live from that inner feeling long enough, you begin to override the illusion that you are separate from your desires. The truth is, those desires were never separate from you. They were frequencies waiting to be matched. When you become the emotional match to your vision has no choice but to come to you. Because you are now living in the energy of the future in the present moment. That's the secret. The future doesn't come to you. You meet it by becoming it. You do not chase outcomes. You tune into realities. The life you are meant to live is not far away. It is vibrationally close. It exists as potential in the field. But potential becomes form through embodiment. And embodiment begins with feeling. The more you feel the elevated emotions of your desired future, gratitude, joy, love, freedom, the more you condition your body to live there, your brain begins to rewire. Your body begins to memorize new emotions. Your field becomes more expanded, and in that expansion, synchronicity increases. Opportunities arise. The right people appear, not by accident, but by design. Because the version of you who is already living in alignment with that life is now broadcasting a signal strong enough for the field to respond. This is the way reality bends around your energy. The outer world is not fixed. It's fluid, shaped by the patterns of your inner world. And when you shift those patterns from stress and survival to creation and gratitude, you step into the role of the conscious creator. You become the cause, not the effect. You stop reacting to life and start drawing it toward you, like a magnet attracting iron. And that magnetism is not based on perfection, it's based on alignment. You don't have to be flawless. You don't have to feel amazing all the time. You just have to practice the feeling of your desired reality long enough for it to feel more familiar than your current one. You have to nurture that inner state until it becomes your new normal. And when it does, you are no longer trying to create the future, you are living from it. You are walking through the world as if it has already happened. And that as if is not a performance. It's an energetic truth. It's not about faking it until you make it. It's about feeling it until you become it. Because when you become it, the universe reorganizes itself around your vibration, not because you forced it, but because you aligned with it. And once you align with it, everything that matches your frequency begins to find its way to you effortlessly, naturally, inevitably, like two magnetic fields drawn into coherence by the power of resonance. You are not here to chase, to struggle, or to beg life to give you what you were always meant to receive. You are here to remember who you truly are, a powerful creator, a magnetic being whose very energy shapes the fabric of reality. The moment you relax, when you release the grip of control and trust the intelligence of the field, you open the doorway to abundance, not someday in the distant future, but here. Abundance is not a destination, it is a frequency. It is already present, surrounding you, waiting patiently for you to tune into it, not through effort, but through alignment. When you let go of the how, when you surrender the when, and become the version of yourself who feels internally as if it has already happened, you begin to collapse time and space. The field no longer sees you as separate from your desires, it sees you as one with them. This is the work, to recondition the body, to retrain the mind, to live from the inside out, because you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. When you feel free, you draw freedom. When you feel whole, you draw love. When you feel abundant, you become a living signal that tells the field, this is who I am now, and the field in its infinite intelligence always delivers what matches that signal. Relax, trust, and let abundance find you, not because you earned it through struggle, but because you became the space through which it could flow. This is not about getting more. It's about remembering that you already are more. And in that remembrance, you allow the miraculous to unfold effortlessly, in harmony with the vast intelligence that is always responding to who you choose to be.